And hi again. Today I wanted to focus on two things. One of them is showing you, or telling you rather, about some of the inspirations behind Mykeria, and later on we'll be looking at my second prototype. But first, if you missed it, the Mykeria prototype and rules are already on Patreon. You can download both of them. You can download the rules no matter what level of patron you are, and you can download the simple prototype if you're a patron of $3 plus. Basically, if you're a playtester, you can now print and play the prototype and check out the game. And I encourage you to do so because I would really love to see some discussion going on in my activity feed about the feelings you have about the game and what you think is good, what you think is bad, what you think would be better if something was changed, etc. I'm very open to that feedback, so if you have any sort of criticisms, go ahead. So without further ado, the inspirations behind Mykeria. So basically, you probably noticed if you had any experience with collectible card games in the past, you probably noticed that Mykeria has a lot to do with Magic the Gathering. And rightly so, because Magic the Gathering was a big inspiration of mine behind Mykeria, but also it was a big hobby of mine for many years before I actually started working on the game. And for people who played Magic the Gathering, I think the comparison between my game and that game is pretty clear, since you can draw comparisons between the different colors of mana in Magic the Gathering and the different gods in Mykeria. So you've got Seraphara, who's yellow in this game, but white in Magic the Gathering, which is a very defensive color of mana. Then you've got Boguhar, who's kind of equivalent to the red deck in Magic the Gathering, the red color, which gives you a lot of offensive capabilities. And then Rakeros is sort of like the blue deck in Magic the Gathering, which I think I mentioned in one of the previous videos. It's this kind of control deck when you're able to look at other people's hands and discard their cards and that sort of stuff. So the thing is that Namredil, the fourth god, he doesn't have like a specific equivalent, though you could say that maybe the fact that he's able to make his followers more powerful to basically upgrade them, maybe that's sort of similar to the green color, which is also the same color that Namredil is in Magic the Gathering, which had a lot of enchantments that you could use to increase your monsters' health and damage. So it's like when I designed Mykeria, at the beginning, if I remember correctly, I've even had more permanent cards, and the only permanent card that really was left in the game is the holiday card. Every else we had, I remember that there were churches or some sort of buildings that you could build. There were attacks that you could make with minions, so it was very similar to Magic the Gathering. But then I decided that I want to get away from that and I want this game to be something else entirely, which is why in the end it ended up being about using a common pool of resources, that is followers, to create your own resources from those followers, so novices and acolytes and priests. And the other game that inspired a little bit of Mykeria, not a large bit, but I wanted to talk about this because I really like the game, is, I've got the game right here. It's Eric M. Lang's Midgard. There we go. Eric M. Lang's Midgard. And this game is pretty good, you should play it. But this game has a drafting mechanism. And Mykeria originally didn't have this drafting mechanism that it has now. Originally, Mykeria was you just received 5 random cards and you had to make do. And I decided, after seeing the mechanism in Midgard, I decided to put it in Mykeria because I felt like it might be a good idea to give the players some more control. Over the course of the next weeks and months, you'll see that in my designs, in every design that I will ever show you, I like giving the players ways of minimizing randomness. So after introducing the drafting mechanism from Midgard, which I basically just borrowed from Mr. Lang, Mr. Eric M. Lang, the author of that game, so I hope he doesn't mind. The game, I felt, became more predictable, but also interesting because this one change about that mechanic that I made was that you also set one card aside for the final turn. And that's something that I really enjoyed in the design. After I've put it in, I just felt like it was a very good idea because has it has you thinking about, okay, so what's the kind of stuff that I'll want to do during the final turn? Do I want to be able, like, do you assume that you're going to have a lot of followers and you have to have stuff which kills followers from other people so you can gain the bonuses, or would you rather defend your followers so you'll get a holiday card and maybe some divine interventions? Or maybe you're feeling like, okay, I'll try to be in the middle, somewhere in the middle of the player stack throughout the entire game, and then I'm going to do my final turn, which is going to be a lot of upgrading people and creating many priests or whatever. So you can have different approaches to that, and the fact that each turn's hand of common cards combines very well with the kind of card that you can choose and the god card that you can choose, and that's entirely your choice. That's something that since I introduced that mechanic, I was very happy with it, with how it worked, even if it does make the game a bit longer, which I think isn't entirely positive. So that's the inspirations and a bit of history behind Mykeria. And right now I would like to invite you to have a look at some of the stuff I've been preparing for my new prototype. First, let me tell you a few words about the new prototype. The game is currently called Combat Suit Mercenaries, and it's got this very long subtitle, which I won't be quoting here because it's just for laughs. But what Combat Suit Mercenaries is that if you're familiar with MechWarrior, then that's something like that. MechWarrior is, well, BattleTech, I should say, is a tabletop game which was very popular in the day, back in the day, and it's about these big mercenary outfits in their big mechs, which are these hulking robots who are piloted by mech warriors, which is why mech warrior is another thing. And BattleTech was this board game, well, tabletop board game, and then MechWarrior happened, which MechWarrior was a video game. And MechWarrior, the first MechWarrior that I had any contact with was in 1999, and that was MechWarrior 3, and I really loved that game. I couldn't play it at all. I was very bad at it because it was a simulation game and I was very unfamiliar with the genre back then. But I grew to love it. I played MechWarrior 4, and in recent years I've became very big on this idea of mechs in general. I really like the way that those games, those MechWarrior games, always portrayed how heavy those machines are. Alright, so these cards are the mech cards. I've borrowed, for this prototype, I've borrowed the art from MechWarrior, from the MechWarrior series. This is some concept art from, I think, MechWarrior 4. And you've got different kinds of mechs. You've got light ones, you've got medium ones and heavy ones. And I really wanted to differentiate them so that taking a light mech over a heavy mech might still be a viable option. I'll talk about this in detail next week, but right now just have a look at how the mech cards are going to probably look like. I think that I've included everything here that I wanted to. There is different tonnage that they can take on. So light mechs can only take 5 tons of equipment on, while the medium mechs can take 8 and heavy mechs can take 12. And different kinds of hit points, different kind of resistance to damage. The game is played with tactics cards, and these are player tactics. The star over here means that these tactics are basic ones that you get at the beginning of the game, and later on you can buy new kinds of tactics, so you can have more options. You mostly fight against those enemies here, and these enemies have all kinds of different statistics. This might all be very confusing right now, but I'll go into detail on this later on, and I'll tell you everything you need to know, and it's quite simple, really. I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. I might even make the game even more streamlined in the end, because right now I'm quite happy with where it is, but it could use a bit more streamlining, I feel. Finally, you've got the player board, which is, this is how it's going to look like. You've got different slots for different stuff. You can put your mechs over here, and you can have your pilots over here. That's a small summary of the rules. And you've got your sigil. There are 4 players in this game. I might think about adding a 5th player, but I'm not sure if that's going to work right now, so I'm sticking to 4 for the primary tests. And we've also got doctrines, and these are your abilities that you can get with every level, say, of seniority. You can get a new one, and this is something that is going to give you a bonus for all your combats. No matter what tactics you take, this is something that will give you a bonus. Right, so that's me for today. I hope you enjoyed this little presentation. I hope you enjoyed the tidbits on Mykeria's design and your first look at Combat Suit Mercs. If you've got any friends who could be interested in this sort of thing, let them know that I'm doing this Patreon campaign, and I hope to see a lot of discussion about Mykeria's rules and prototype soon on my activity feed. So I hope to see you there, and see you next time.